turns out that their cat puked through the side vent, all over the motherboard. People who fix computers, what's the worst thing you've found? A guy I know that fixed computers for a living, years ago, had a customer bring in a computer stating that the floppy drive had stopped working. When he opened it up, he found cockroaches mashed against the read and write heads in the drive. He said he just closed it up and left it on the front step for the guy to come and retrieve. A crusty old man walked into the shop with a look in his eyes like a child who just stole from the cookie jar. The year is 2017, but he asks me if I can burn a CD for him. I am confused, but I indulge the customer's request. I ask him what he wants burned to the CD. He simply points to a folder titled New Folder. By instinct I double-click, and in that moment what little innocence I had left died. Inside that indescribable folder, hundreds of pictures of what I'm assuming is wife in what can only be described as explicit positions. I'm sure she is a fine lady, but age has not been kind to her. The lack of hygiene and poor diet didn't help either. Frozen in place, I slowly turned my head to the old man's gaze, only to be met with a simply indescribable grin and a slow nod. Never before in my life has I been that afraid, disgusted, and stunned, but I had a job to do. I grabbed a dusty old 700 MB CD and burned those images to its form. It was done, the transaction was made, but I was robbed of my innocence and of my sanity. My coworker asked me to fix his computer and I agreed since he was a nice guy. It turns out it was actually his 13-year-old son's computer. As soon as I got it I knew it was a bad idea. It was disgusting, covered in food particles and a white crusty residue I am hoping wasn't jizz. It wouldn't even boot up when I turned it on, but I managed to get inside with Windows Startup Repair. As soon as I logged in, I saw dozens of torrented video games and hundreds of GBs of adult films. Oh boy. I ran a virus scan and it removed so many files that it corrupted the hard drive and prevented the laptop from booting. I spent over 20 hours trying to recover the hard drive, but it was royally messed up. I gave the laptop back to him after I was able to get it booted and agreed to stop fixing PCs on the side. The last company I worked for, I got a laptop back from one of the sales guys who was complaining that his computer was slow and kept crashing. He was the sort of guy who, rather than raise a ticket, sends an email with the entire exec team copied in about how he couldn't do his job because IT were incompetent, etc. Well, I got his laptop from him and noticed the hard drive was completely full. Most of the sales stuff is web-based, so there was no reason for the local drive to have anything on it. So, I had a look. Expertly hidden on his hard drive in a folder called Work Stuff was over 300 GB of naked pictures and videos of himself. Literally thousands of pictures of him naked. Videos of him dancing naked. Videos of him shoving things in his butt. One extremely awkward meeting with the guy's manager later, he was quietly let go. A 20-year-old friend's mother was going through her husband's laptop to fix some virus issues and found videos of their daughter, my friend, getting changed, taking showers, etc. on the laptop. Apparently the husband/dad had hidden cameras in their daughter's room taking inappropriate videos of her for years. He's in jail now, but I can't imagine how that felt finding out that her own father that she loved and trusted was betraying her in the sickest way for most of her life. CP on an executive's laptop. He was acting mighty suspicious when I was cleaning his computer and nervously looking over my shoulder, but then almost by the grace of the heavens, he stepped out for a moment and the virus scan went to where his collection was with common sex acts and the words PTHC and #yo, #= 5 to 14. I hid the scan in systray, aborted the temp file cleaning to mitigate the chances of destroying evidence, snuck off into the restroom, and made the call. The guy was arrested within the hour, especially since the police station was only up the street, and even the FBI got involved. PTHC = preteen hardcore, or just about every single file within that folder had it. I wish I could go through life without learning that word, but when it shows up 50+ times for seemingly large video files, I had no choice but to Google what it meant. I personally like to think it means pathetic. Father-in-law got a new computer and wanted stuff transferred over. His old computer had viruses and ran slow. Due to this I tried to figure out what actually needed transferring rather than just transferring everything after cleaning it up. Stumbled upon pictures of him and dragging him getting a dildo shoved up his butt. Why do people insist on large thumbnails? Why? Was doing IT at a law firm. Saw a folder called literally dirty pics. Immediately open folder, I mean, come on, saw pics of almost every secretary in the firm naked. I found a couple of things. I found a dead rat inside a PC one time. Customer couldn't fathom why it shorted out. The thing was like a mummy too. Old 90-year-old dude comes in with a computer. Pop it on the tester, hook it up to a monitor, and his background is the most hardcore gay adult films ever. There are like 10 customers waiting in the shop, so I quickly just turned the monitor off, swapped the desktop background out in the back, and did the work. Was at an old couple's house backing up all their pictures, and those two old folks had some nasty self-filmed amateur adult films on there. So many gray pubes. Had a customer come in and be like, "I don't know why my computer isn't working." Load up the desktop and there's tons of malware. I ask what kind of sites he goes to, so I can coach him on how not to get infected again, and like clockwork a bunch of malware pop-ups start flashing and playing the ANTTS song. Took everything in me to just hold it together. All the other things are par for the course. Badly hidden adult film folders labeled innocuously, like I'm not gonna see some random folder labeled beach stuff that weirdly has like 3 terabits in it while I'm backing up your files. Web histories to Nazi sites. Marry dudes who 90% of their history is Craigslist hooker links. I mean, you work in IT for like 10 years, nothing surprises you anymore. Had the FBI come in one time and take a computer that we were fixing. One lady just left her kid, 2-year-old, at the shop after dropping the computer off for like 3 hours till CPS came, and there was a giant brawl in the waiting area. Somebody took a dump on the floor in our line one time. All in all, it was a crazy job. My friend's dad used to fix up old computers and laptops, and one day he told us about this time this elderly man came into his shop to get his old desktop fixed. So he drops it off, and immediately my friend's dad notices it smells off, and I mean very off. So he goes to fix it, and when he pops open the side, I kid you not, 20 cockroaches climb out of this thing and scatter away. On the inside is this rotten piece of meatloaf leftover which has turned moldy black and gross. My friend's dad said he almost threw up in the moment and they had to call an exterminator to kill the roaches. He called the elderly man back to tell him about his computer troubles. Apparently the old man had dementia or something and thought the computer was a fridge, and he had stored his leftover meatloaf in there. Needless to say, they did not fix his computer. I worked for my university's IT department in the laptop depot, so we basically would do any repairs on students, faculty and staff's laptops. We had this really solid warranty with Dell where they were 100% covered for 4 years, even including intentional misuse. We saw all sorts of laptops full of dust, smoke, beer/wine/liquor. They would always say they spilled juice on their laptop. I got to the point where I could replace a motherboard on a Latitude D630 in under 5 minutes. The only time I ever saw a laptop that we refused to repair was one dude who barfed all over his. My boss just put on rubber gloves, put it in a plastic bag, and mailed it to Dell to be replaced. At my old job, some kid, probably 17 or 18 at the time, brought in his Asus gaming laptop for us to clean up. The thing was riddled with malware. Some of the files we had to manually delete, and when we went looking we found something interesting. He had hours of sex tapes with him and his girlfriend. Also keep in mind that this is when Windows 8.1 was new and the photo tile on the start menu cycled through saved content. When the kid came to pick up the laptop, the Photos app showed a preview pic with his girlfriend's butt and his penis clearly inside her. We quickly flipped the laptop around, claiming that we forgot to re-enable something, and turned off the live tile feature so that the pics would show up. None of us that worked on the laptop said a thing to the kid or his dad when they came to pick it up. I hooked up with a girl from work and she asked me to fix her laptop. I found her wedding photos on there. Always check the ring finger, guys. The marriage was a sham from day one. She married him for a visa, they were sleeping in different rooms, and I wasn't the first affair, but yeah, she was still married. Most certainly a dysfunctional one. It was a pity, we really fell for each other but couldn't be together. I was on a visa too but couldn't bring her under mine. She wanted to leave him but it wasn't as simple as just walking out to be with me. There was a house involved, divorce isn't simple, etc. We ended it because it was just too complicated to work. In another life, under different circumstances, I'd have married that girl. I don't fix computers, but my parents gave me a task of fixing the family computer. Few clicks here and there and I ended up on my sister's other Facebook account. She was selling herself over on Facebook. She posted her prices and schedule. She also had 100+ messages from guys asking to meet up. I felt so sick. I told my dad, expecting him to talk to her about it. He ended up kicking her out that night. Our family hasn't been the same since then. My friend has a 10-year-old brother who wanted his computer fixed. It wasn't anything major, and all I had to do was clear and back up his files. I then decided to clear his history, because that can sometimes be a thing that slows your computer down, so I opened it. There was a ton of adult films in his history, mainly really messed up Asian cartoon stuff. Worst of all, he caught me looking at this shit. He got mad at me, and we never brought it up again. My brother works on laptops, and one time a guy came in to get Windows 8 put on his computer. This man was an old family friend, and while he was backing up files he found a video of the man's daughter. I won't go into details of what it is, for the sake of keeping my blood pressure down. But my brother immediately alerted the authorities, and the man is now serving a 12-year prison term. He's just lucky my brother was at his place of business, or I believe he would have killed him instead of calling the law. Used to work at a small computer repair shop. Every now and then you'd find porn or something like that, nothing too unusual. The worst part was usually the physical state of the machines. As a courtesy, the shop I worked for would always blow the dust out of systems that came in. Smokers' computers were the worst. Years of tar and dust buildup just would not come loose. There was one system that as soon as we opened it, we saw dozens of roaches inside. We quickly closed up the case, taped up all openings, stuck it in a bag and fumigated it. There was this other time that a customer brought their system in for weird performance issues. Turns out that their cat puked through the side vent all over the motherboard. Customer wanted to pay for us to clean it rather than replace it. I don't fix computers for a living, but my first home computer was one that used to belong to my dad. He did not do a very good job deleting his old files, and I stumbled upon his porn collection. I wish I hadn't. Dad is apparently a pervert. I used to work for a Native American tribe, and the tribe's lawyer was an a-hole who demanded to be waited on hand and foot. One day I was surfing through the program we use to remote into other computers, and it will take a screenshot of the last thing the computer was doing. There it was, he was looking at chicks with Ds. I notified my supervisor, which he notified his supervisor. I was told to look the other way. I gave up. You want me to enforce policy on other users but not him? So I found a new job and quit. Someone once brought in a cooler to the repair shop. I was completely confused. Asked awkwardly if I could help the guy. Guy opens the cooler and hands me a freezing laptop that's keyboard is literally bowed out because of the ice that formed in the motherboard. Apparently the guy spilled water all over his computer, and his friend told him to put it in the freezer so it would turn into a solid. Dumbest thing I have ever experienced. Not me, but one of my brothers in IT. He worked at a third-party Apple dealership, and was doing a data transfer for a customer from their old machine to their new machine. They would set people up with their photos in iPhoto, as part of these data transfers. When they were importing the photos, iPhoto shows each photo for a second as it imports. Most of the time, people will just minimize the window to respect the privacy of the customer. Well, that didn't happen, and there were gigs and gigs of the customer, middle-aged mom, engaging in sexual acts with a dog. The worst part was, he had to help bring their new iMac out to their car when they came in to pick it up, and in the car was the dog in the pictures, looking like a very sad doggo. He was really upset by the experience and needed to take a few days to reset. I found some shady stuff on a company's server and brought it to their HR manager's attention. Her response led me to end our business with the company that day. She really wasn't interested in hearing about it and told me that if I ever wanted to work for another company not to say anything, or she would blackball me by calling every other large firm in the area. Long story short, I found proof that an employee was stealing from the company by taking royalties from a vendor that deliberately botched a project and was charging the company every month to fix it. Guy wouldn't give his password for a security conversion. Eventually he coughs it up. It is Lisa says 15. Naturally me and the other guys start joking around about who is Lisa. Some of us bet his wife, but others think his admin assistant, because he was so shy about it. We got a pool going about it. Someone had money on mistress, I went with admin assistant myself. So we go to the company page for his advisor office, which has a little blurb about the staff. No Lisa. My coworker goes, must be the wife then. And goes to the biography page, which usually has the advisor's family on it. I yell over my shoulder, what's the verdict, man? The guys are all just groaning at whatever it said, so I get up and go over and look. There is a family photo with a caption, Guy, pictured with wife Stephanie, 38, and daughter, Lisa, 15. We reported it to compliance. Thanks for listening to Tech Support for Perverts. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more videos. Click the right box for the Professionals of Reddit playlist. Let us know in the comments what you think about these stories.